Good day, 330 to go. This is Matt McGall with your 330 to go high school football show, and I am currently joined with Wadsworth head varsity football coach Justin Todd. Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate
I
it.
appreciate it. It's another year, like we had talked before. You're not in your cozy basement. You're at work, so everybody in Wadsworth can put the rumors to rest. Coach Todd works. He
All
doesn't
day
just
long, man. I've
all
got
day
students
long.
all day long. I slipped out of a class real quick, and so I give you 10, 15 minutes, whatever you need.
Perfect. I'll take the few. Coach, you're putting in work, obviously, during the day, and you guys are putting in work this season for sure. You are sitting 6-0 currently, and you guys are our high school game of the week where you're taking on Nordonia this Friday. Before we get to that, a lot of big wins. Medina was one that I saw a few weeks ago because we've covered you guys so much in the past. The monkey off the back there, you pick up a big win against them convincingly, and then it rolls for a week or two, and then last week you guys take down Hudson, a very, very big win. Walk me through that win and what you told your team, Coach.
The Medina win or the?
If you want to go through the Medina one, but I was referring to last week, just to,
yeah. So I mean, the Medina. It's been a while. We obviously played really well, and it was our first home game of the year. We had been on the road for 2 straight weeks, and then we came home, and then we were on the road again for 2 more weeks until last week versus Hudson. So what I think everybody knows about the Hudson football program is number one, they've got tremendous pride in their program. Their kids play really hard. They are big, fast, physical. I mean, their offensive and defensive line gave us, we knew going into the game that they would give us fits because they were so big and physical. And that proved to be true the other night. And it looks like a typical Hudson team. They've got a quarterback that's 220 pounds and can run. And then their running back is special. I mean, he's just a sophomore, but he's a special back. And their offensive line is a typical Hudson offensive line. It's like every year since I've been here since 2016. And I'm amazed by their they obviously put a tremendous amount of work in the weight room, but it's their height and their length is just incredible. So they do a great job of building those kids up, and of course they lean on their offensive and defensive lines, and rightfully so. So we missed some opportunities in the first half to extend the lead. We were inside of the 5-yard line twice and came away with no points twice. And that's huge. We missed. We had an extra point, which was a bad snap on a rainy night. So we were only up 6-0. And then, within 3 plays, we're down inside the 5, and then we missed a field goal. And right before the end of the first half, we're inside the 5 and we miss a field goal. So to come away and only be up 6-0 at the at the end of the first half was uneasy. Came out to start the second half, went right down the field, scored, got the 2-point conversion, and now it's 14-0. But then all of a sudden they start throwing the ball. And we made some coverage mistakes, but I would also say that their kids made really good plays as well. Quarterback made some tremendous throws, and that brought them right back into the game. And we really couldn't get anything consistently going offensively. And that was a frustrating part, but I thought our defense was outstanding. We held Hudson to, I think 35 yards rushing, and
that's a tough task.
And that's like an impossible. Like if you'd have told me that we would hold them to 35 yards rushing, I would have laughed at you, because of how great their scheme is, but then also how great their players are to fit within that scheme. So, I was really proud of the effort. Offensively, we didn't execute, the way that we want to, but there's always room to learn and grow. So what I told our kids is that when you don't play great, and we didn't, but a lot of that's a credit to Hudson. When you don't play great, but you give perfect effort, you give yourself an opportunity to win the game. And that's what took place. Our kids played with incredible fight and grit and effort, and amidst all the adversity that we went through, and not converting in the red zone and some things that took place in the second half, we continued the fight. And I was really proud of our kids for that. And it gave us an opportunity to come back. And then obviously we go into overtime, and big pass on second down, a flag route to to one of our slot receivers, perfectly placed ball by our quarterback, great concentration by our slot right there in the backside of the end zone, and then our defense to come up with 4 consecutive plays in overtime to stop them. So came out on it's a great win for our program. It's a great rivalry. There's no love lost between the football teams of Hudson and Wadsworth. And it's a respectful rivalry, but it is our rival. And certainly I know that Hudson feels the same way about us. And that's what you expect. And no matter if our record's really good or if their record's really good, it's going to be a battle. And that's it played out the way I thought it would.
I think a lot of times when you're throughout a season can have so many storylines where everything's going great and grand. And as a coach, when you're in the middle of that game and you're like, nothing is going our way, but we're
That's
winning.
how it felt. That's how it felt. I mean, honestly, at one point I'm thinking to myself, because I've done this long enough now where you've been involved in those games and you're like, it's just not our night. Like it's just
not. But we're winning.
Really
but we're winning.
But it's just not our night. Like you just felt it the whole night. And but again, that's why I'm so proud of our effort. Because if I'm feeling it, someone that's done this for a really long time and coached in hundreds of games, it's the kids have to have some sense of that as well. And I thought our staff did a good job of remaining calm and just trying to work through whatever issues we were having and trying to remain positive. I thought I thought that was really good on our sideline, but there always is a little bit of that doubt. Like, man, it's like
But that's, Coach, I think a lot of that's the testament. If you look over since I've gotten to know you over the years, you guys have been in that situation a lot and not always coming out on the positive side. So
I mean, the wrinkles and the gray hair show it, man. It's I had hair when we first met. Okay. One more of those.
Yeah, exactly. But you guys are there and you guys know how to take that on now. And that's where that growth that I know I've seen, that's the reason you guys are sitting 6-0 right now.
Yeah.
And you had some really rough weather Friday. It was fun for everybody. There was a monsoon. Then it was nice. Oh, it was just, it's hit or miss on Friday, last Friday. But this upcoming Friday is going to be nice weather. And
that's what I've heard. Yeah.
You guys are taking on Nordonia. How, coming off of a game like that, like a lot of times coaches, you can look at your schedule and you know where it's going to be some dog fights through the year. And sometimes it is beneficial when the scheduling lines up to where you have a little bit of an ease into it. That's not happening. You guys are coming right off of Hudson and you're going right in with Nordonia. That's a tough back-to-back. And I think, where does that put you right now, Coach? How are you feeling going into Friday night with your team?
Well, I feel good. I mean, I really do, because we're, outside of, we've had a couple season-ending injuries, which take place every year that are awful for the kids and for the team. But we're relatively healthy, which is good, especially coming out of as physical of a game that we played in last Friday night. I mean, that was a sledgehammer game. Okay. So we feel good about where we're at, and I feel good that we were able to play. A lot of our games haven't been close in the second half. And so our, whether the clock's been running or we're putting in our second group a little earlier, it was good for our guys to play all 4 quarters and more, obviously. And it shows that our preparation, I mean, we practiced really hard in anticipation that the game's going to be really, really hard. And so we've played extremely well in the first half of games, which has led to us, putting in our second group early. Obviously, that wasn't the case last Friday night. So I feel really good that we were able to play and sustain our effort level for that long, right? For entire and so so now we jump into another game where obviously if we're lucky, it becomes a 4-quarter game, and I mean that because Nordonia is that good. Like we know that we have to play great for 4 quarters to even have a chance to win, because they are that good. So knowing that our kids can sustain that, and having that proof of last week is important. So
absolutely. I mean, that's really the main thing. In injuries, people don't realize we're past that. That was a halfway point. I mean, we're well past that. And these kids have been going at it since, June, July in the weight rooms, but absolutely getting after it late July. And that's a long amount of time. And it is.
And we pride ourselves on being physical. So we practice very physical, especially early in the week, and, probably lean more old school than anything. But, we'll start to taper it off our physicality as the week goes to try to get their bodies back and try to get them as close to 100% as we can for Friday night. And so we had a very physical practice yesterday, And and again, we'll start to taper it off. It becomes more mental. And then just making sure that we can get our bodies right for Friday night, because you're right. I mean, we're now in week 7, and it's like, we're hitting this meat of our schedule where you go a sledgehammer game against Hudson, and then you turn around and you've got another one 7 days later with probably it's the best Nordonia team I've seen in a long time. So
it's they're making a very strong case for that. Well, Coach, year to year, as we've mentioned, it goes up and down, and we ask a lot of these athletes every year for their growth. I got to ask you, because I always like to just know more about the coach and the person that's taking the brunt of everything every Friday, because you're second guessed, that, and you're never right. That you're never going to be right, but you do a great job at it. What have you learned, not just over those years that you talked about since you've been there, from last year to this year? What is your biggest growth as a coach from 1 year later, which is a short amount of time, but a lot of learning curve was in there?
Yeah, sure. I think that, each and every year, I think I become more mature in handling difficult situations, having those difficult conversations, with kids. We're very fortunate in Wadsworth. We have great parents. We really do. Supportive parents. They love their kids. They want what's best for their kids. I mean, that has been, it's the greatest place in the world to coach. But each year there are kids that don't get as much playing time as I would like them to get. They would certainly like to get, or no question, their parents want them to get. And I think that navigating that and trying to get players to understand that their role, no matter how significant or insignificant they believe that it is so vital to our team. That was one of the first things I complimented our young guys on after our game Friday night. I talked, number one, about our effort, but then more important than that, I talked about how the young guys that didn't get to participate in last Friday's game, how vital they were to our victory, preparing us the right way, giving us the appropriate look Monday through Thursday. So that way, when we get out on the field on Friday, the guys that are playing the significant roles on Friday are prepared. Yeah. And so I think that, trying to balance the players, and get them to realize how crucial they are. Again, regardless of how many reps or snaps they're taking on a Friday night, that's the hardest thing in the world for a coach, is knowing that you've got a kid that has worked so hard for whatever reason, whether it's game plan specific or schemes or personnel. This isn't your role this week, and that's hard, and I hate that. That's my least. I wish we could play, every play. Yeah. The reality is that there's 11 players on the field at any given time, and you've got to make sure that you've got your best guys in the right spot. And so, I think probably just trying to be more cognizant of these other guys that aren't playing as significant of a role on a Friday night, getting them, at least acknowledging them, and me expressing to them my gratitude, and trying to get our older guys to realize how important those guys are, is something that each year I try to grow in that, because I want our kids in our program to understand that each one of them serves a major role. There's one Gavin Madigan, right? There's one guy that's going to get 15 carries and make 15 tackles.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we can't all be him. Mm-hmm. But the kids that are preparing him are, and Gavin would tell you, they are every bit as important as Gavin, as that play. So it's something that we're really trying to work through in our program, and just because we live in a society that doesn't preach that, right? That's the world that we live in right now, and it'll be like that forever. Yeah. It just is. It's the way that we've trended now, and football is the most selfless sport in the world, and getting those kids to recognize that there's so much value in being a part of a group, in an organization, in a team. It's how we were created to be pack people, right? We just are. And I just, the more that we can emphasize that with our team, it helps our culture, and it helps those kids that work really hard in the off season, and their role isn't exactly what they've envisioned, but it's vital. It's important.
It almost sounds like you're trying to build a program and accountability in your players, coach. And I absolutely love it, because that's exactly what you're doing. I mean, I say that sarcastically because everything that you said it's lost. People don't realize that there's coaches out there that are in these positions and they really do care and they really do understand, but they're just trying to do what's best for everybody and keep everybody happy. It's tough. It's very difficult,
right? I mean, I know, the coaches that we have to compete against every Friday night. I know those guys personally, and every one of them are incredible men, and they're all doing the same thing. I think it's just hard in today's society, right?
Well, it is. It's tough to put that out there, to broadcast that out.
It is, and what we, and especially, I know now we're kind of veering off track here, but like your sophomore year is the most difficult year of high school at a big school. And the reason that is because all the way from youth football up until your sophomore year, you had your own team. We've got 2 7th grade teams. We've got 2 8th grade teams. We play a ton of kids at the freshman level. And then all of a sudden you're a sophomore and for the first time, you don't have your own team.
And you're kind of trying to find your niche, your role. And it's tough to go in and say, hey, my goal should just be to be special teams. If I can make a difference at special teams, and that's only going to come from giving really good scout team looks during the week. That's
exactly what happens. Yeah. And we really try to place a big emphasis on our junior varsity team. And like, it is not a bad thing. And I know that it's not just in Wadsworth, but this happens a lot of places where it's like, well, you're a JV player. And it's like, man, JV is so important. I mean, we reward like a JV offensive skill, a JV offensive big, a defensive skill, your players of the week. Like, that's important because we spend time with those kids. We watch a lot of film with those kids. We evaluate it. It's like, it's not it's an opportunity to play football and to grow and develop. And so we take that really serious.
No, and that's the hardest part, and doing that and maintaining that focus and keeping the kids involved. But it sounds like you're lucky because you got somewhat of the parents figured out. Usually, sometimes us parents.
Well, I don't know. I don't. No,
I can derail it. I could derail it right now, but with just a lot of griping and a few emails. But
and that's okay. And I get it,
because kids work. Kids work and kids put a ton of effort in, and those parents put a lot of time and effort into driving those kids to those places. And it's tough once you get down to, like you said, especially with football, but with football being one of those, it takes everybody. Like, if anybody thinks it's just the 11 defense and the 11 offense, it's all the way down to the trainer. It's even the cheerleaders to that point, because that builds that atmosphere, that excitement. And there's no doubt out there in Wadsworth, you guys are doing a tremendous job. And that's exactly why we had to bring you back on the show, and we had to make you guys the game of the week, because it's not often here sitting at week 7. We got 2 6-0 teams. So I'm going to leave you with this, Coach. What are you telling the Wadsworth faithful as they come out and they watch you guys take on Nordonia this Friday?
The weather's going to be phenomenal. So
Absolutely.
We need, going against this great football team, we need all of the home field advantage that we can get. And I would just ask that they show up and show out. It's homecoming, and I can tell you that this is not, I don't have they don't say, hey, which game should be homecoming in Wadsworth. That's one of the other schools I was at. They were like, hey, which game do you want homecoming to be?
It's
that game. Trust me. I have zero say, and they just say, hey, by the way, this is homecoming. And I'll look at them and go, why would you choose this team for homecoming? So
that's funny that you said it, because I'm thinking the exact same thing when she just said homecoming. That's
believe
awesome.
Me. I mean, it like happens that way every year. I'm like, do you guys purposefully pick the best team on our schedule, or is it by chance?
Yeah, we're gonna have a good weekend.
Yeah. So, but it's a good opportunity. It's the first Friday, and our downtown does a little event for First Friday. And, I just think it's rare. You said it. It's rare to have 2 undefeated teams coming in week 6, or week 7. It's crazy. And so, and to have 2 undefeated teams in the same conference, in the same region, like, how could you not want to go witness that atmosphere and be involved and be loud Friday night? I mean, we have great players, but boy, you're going to see some excellent athletes on the other side of the field. Like, it's going to be a really great display of talent Friday night. Like, it's if you like football,
yep.
I think you're going to come out and be really impressed with the kids that both sides present.
Yep. It definitely gives you that a little bit of that playoff atmosphere feeling about 4 weeks in advance, which as a coach, you absolutely have to love that opportunity to be able to say, hey, we experienced that, because it's going to be one more reason when you're in that playoff game and things might not be going right. You can refer right back to that week 6 game. Hey, we've been here. We were right there. It wasn't going our way and we grinded through. And
That's right.
Coach, we wish you guys nothing but the best Friday night. Always a friend of our show, and happy that you took time out to be able to chat it up. And I don't want to keep you too much longer, because I know that you probably got to get back to that schedule grind there at work.
I do. Yep.
Thank you so much for joining, Coach Justin Todd from the Wadsworth Grizzlies, taking on Nordonia this Friday night for 330 Goes High School Football show, high school game of the week. That was a tongue twister right there. Coach, thank you so much for joining the show, and take care and have a great rest of the day.
Thanks. You as well. Appreciate it.
Take care.